Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach.
All right, so we are here for episode number 2 of the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. And today we are going to talk about probably one of the most important questions that we get is, do nurse coaches actually make money? And we are going to dive deep into this topic and get under the hood and give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the truth about this question. So first, I want to preface this entire podcast with one little wisdom bomb, one little gold nugget you can put in your pocket. If a nurse believes she can make money as a nurse coach, she can. If a nurse does not believe she can make money as a nurse coach, she can't. So the first requirement is that you actually believe that you can. And we're here to tell you that, yes, you actually can. And we have real life examples and stories to share with you today. So Shelby, I want to ask you, we get this question too. Okay, sure, we can make money, but how long does it take? I'd love to ask you what your typical timeline is that you see with your clients and income.
Yeah, that is the question of the century of how long will it take me to replace my full-time income so that I can be a coach full-time and do nothing else? There are a lot of ways to go about attacking that plan of going full-time as a coach, which will be for another time. But our usual timeline, and it's interesting because Laura and I were chatting before this podcast, and we kind of have a similar experience, even though Laura and I don't coach together anymore, which I think makes it a trend for the people that we work with. And usually we see nurse coaches come out of the gate pretty hot. They go, they do the thing, they are fearless, they're riding a high. It's a really exciting time to be someone's coach because like nothing gets in the way in that phase. And there's just very little, well, not very little. We're able to overcome the fear pretty quickly. So I've seen clients of mine create $6,000 in 6 weeks. I've seen my clients make one Facebook post and generate $20,000 worth of income off of one Facebook post over about 3 months. I have also seen nurse coaches who don't create anything at all because as soon as they commit to their dream, work gets crazy, life gets crazy, mom duties get crazy, their whole world gets flipped upside down, and resistance is really thick. So I have a wide spectrum, but I would say more than half are able to make their first $2,000 to $5,000 in less than 3 months. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's a really good, that's a really good answer to that. We see 50% of our clients make $2,000 to $5,000 in the first 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, I don't know if we can like coin a term for this, but after we come out of the gate and we sprint and we like do all the things and we sign all our clients, then there's like this wall that happens for a lot of our clients. I also experienced this. Laura, I can't exactly remember when you hit your first wall, like where the time, it was in the timeline. But then we get like our really for a big string of no's. You just get no after no after no. And then you're getting to like 5, 6, 7, 8 no's. And you're like, oh my God, it was all a fluke. I'm the worst coach ever. And that's where your coach comes to the rescue, right? And because the mental chatter is so thick and so loud. So that is where it's really helpful to have a coach to help you out in that space. But we see that mental block last anywhere from a week to a month to 6 weeks. Like it can really derail. It can really derail the initial fiery spark that you had. And that is where most coaches, and frankly, a lot of nurse coaches, they quit.
Right.
Is that they knew it was going to be challenging, but they had success out of the gate. So we kind of forget that we knew it was going to be challenging. And so then we throw in the towel. And the nurse coaches that you see in our space and out on the internet having a lot of success are the ones that didn't. They're the ones that rolled and sat with that and felt the feelings and did the inner work and now have a full-time income coaching. Yeah. And so, like I said, this depends person to person. But now that we are at the end of a year-long program, this is a really cool time for Laura and I to reflect after we've been working for clients for an extended period of time. And the ladies that I've been working with in the year 2021 have replaced their hospital income this year.
Yeah.
And so it is possible. If you can wrap your head around it taking 18 months to replace your income, that's actually not very long.
It is. It's not that long, yet it can feel like forever. Like that 6 weeks of no's can feel like you're never going to make money again. Oh my gosh, you're going to have to go crawling back to the hospital. You're going to have to work in a SNF. You're going to have to take a travel assignment. Your husband's going to be mad at you. And yet, if you can get through that period of time, if you can stick with it for 12 months, 18 months, there is a really high probability if you're at the 18-month mark, you have replaced most, if not all, of your hospital income, I would say. The people who keep doing the thing, which is why we changed all our programs to a year long, because we were tired of missing it. You know, our program used to be 3 months and we would just start to get started, or we just have like some momentum. We just start to know the inner workings of our clients, and then we would let them go and we'd back end offer them. And a lot of them would stay and a lot of them would quit just to stop. And so now we elicit a year commitment from everybody to give you a better shot at getting through some of those lows and those lulls. Shelby, do you want to break down? Let's just take $60K as a benchmark for year one. Can you give an example, if you were just to do one-on-one coaching, what $60K could look like numbers wise?
Yeah. So there's like many ways to break down $60K. And the way I generated my first $60K was to make one-on-one offers for 8 or 12 weeks. And my goal was to create like 2 of those a month. So, and I was charging $1,500 as a new coach. So that was $3,000 a month. And then once you get to the end of those contracts, so your 8 or 12 weeks, then you make a more long-term, a more financial, or a bigger financial investment for longer, for 6 months, for 8 months, for a whole year. And that is kind of where the bulk of your income can come. So if you take 12 months and you're imagining it in your brain from January to December, you have 2 new clients every single month at $1,500 a piece. That is $3,000 times 12, which is $36,000 just as short-term contracts. And then we can add in more long-term contracts, $6,000 for 6 months, $4,000 for 6 months, $10,000 for 6 months. Like, you can kind of see that there's like endless creativity here on how you can structure your programs. But the goal is for you to back end offer clients in a more long-term space so that you can have greater transformation, and also so that you're not having to propose all the freaking time. But truly and honestly, 2 to 4 new clients a month as a goal can replace a big portion of your nursing income. There's also, that's not the only way to do it. Like, you could sign 10 $6,000 clients that you serve for 8 months, or you could do 12 $5,000 clients. Like, there are many, many ways. And so we don't ever want anybody to feel pegged into this is the one way that you have to do it. We just have a way that really works really well for new nurse coaches. And that's because if I told a new nurse coach to go charge $6,000 for a contract, they might look at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
So we start small and we build you up and we build your confidence and we build your coaching skills along the way. But yeah, even there are a few coaching books out there that recommend, like you can have one coaching client a year, and it could be $100,000 client. That could just be your client for the whole year. So
I want to do that one day.
It would be really cool.
It'd be really fun. Cool. Can you imagine the level of commitment that client would have?
Yeah. My mind immediately jumps to like, what retreats do we get to go on together? Like that would be epic. And also I want to encourage that if you're listening and you're like feeling nauseous as you hear me throw around these numbers, one, that is a sign that there is some money work to do here, but also this is like the going rate for coaches, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to $2,000 a month is what people invest in coaching who are looking for coaching, are willing to invest. Laura and I have invested all over the map. From, I think my first coaching contract was like $1,800 that I paid my very first coach. And I ended up paying that same coach. I worked with her for a long time. I ended up investing $20,000 into one of her programs. And then Laura and I together, we invested in a program that was $30,000 this year. So these numbers might come across as shocking, but I promise that this is the world we swim in now. These are normal numbers.
Yeah, and it depends on each nurse's background and money story and where they live in the United States and what they deem expensive and what they deem valuable. And so we work with those beliefs to find the starting price point that will give them the best shot at getting paid while they learn. We believe you can earn while you learn. As a brand new baby nurse coach, there's no reason you can't be getting coaching hours, getting experience, building your confidence, and making money at the same time. And then as your confidence grows, we will challenge you to raise your rates. We have very specific metrics that we use when we make this recommendation. We also have a lot of different options. So it's holistic. It's not a one size fits all. We will find a way for each of our clients to make this work for them and to hit their goals around what they want to earn in their business. But going back to the name of our episode, do nurse coaches actually make money? Yes, they do. And we want to share some more stories to make it real for you. I had my first $10,000 month, I believe, around the 6-month mark after I hired my first business coach. So I had some profitable months before that, but I didn't hit my first $10,000 until about 6 months in to really doing a lot of inner work around money. And then Shelby, you had your first pretty profitable month pretty early. You had a really profitable January, I remember.
Yeah. I started my business in September and had a couple of quick successes, and then it hit my dry spell pretty quickly. And then for those who aren't super familiar with every day of my life, I was pregnant at the time that I opened my business. So January was the sweet spot for me of like, I had to sign clients that month, but I was preparing for maternity leave. So I didn't have the space to take on more clients after that. And something about that energy of like, this is the last month, I better make it count, allowed for a pretty profitable month. I think I made like $5,000 or $6,000 that month. And that was amazing at the time. That's more money that I had ever made working bedside. And then I didn't sign another client until August of that year because I had my baby in March and I took 4 months of maternity leave. And I just remember showing up to my business coaching calls being like, I don't know why I'm here. I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. I don't know what to do next. And my coach was just like, it'll happen. Well, no, just keep showing up to the calls. If you do nothing else, just keep showing up to the calls. And sure enough, she was right. But yes, nurse coaches make money. There are coaches that are not nurses that are making money. There are people who have never been through a certification program or had any real-time experience interacting with humans in the same way that nurses do, making lots of money as a nurse coach. Or I'm sorry, just as a normal coach. So this is the part where I want to give a little bit of a pep talk that I really and truly believe that nurse coaches are the best equipped coaches out there. I have never, ever met another coach that cares so holistically about like the approach to coaching. I just think that nurse coaches are completely set apart from all other coaching certifications, from all their coaches. Not that they can't be good. I've hired a lot of non-nurse coaches in my day, but I think that we are the best equipped on the market to help people.
I agree. I wanted to share about a couple of different stories in some of my clients that I think will help listeners, especially if you're out there going running these numbers in your head and your wheels are spinning right this moment when you're listening to this. And I want to talk about one of my clients who does not do any social media. She has, I think she averages 5,000 to 6,000 a month, and she has very consistently. She's replaced her hospital income, and she does this by calling people on the phone, reaching out to acquaintances, reaching out to friends, and getting referrals. No social media, no email marketing, no podcast, no blog. She has a website, but no clients she's gotten through that website. All of her clients were created by her reaching out and just asking how people are doing and offering to help. And I think that's an amazing example of one way that you can make money. And then another client of mine, she has 3 boys. She was homeschooling them. She was working a part-time job. She lives on a homestead, and she had new calls every week. She was very few weeks where she didn't have new calls. It was massive action, consistent action, inviting, getting no's. It was super inspiring. And I believe she's had several 10K months at the 12-month mark. Again, these are just 2 stories of nurses who had never been an entrepreneur, who had never owned their own business, and within a year had replaced their own income.
Yeah. And in that same vein, I mean, this isn't to dilute any of our clients' journeys because they're all so powerful in and of their own right. But like, we just know dozens of nurse coaches who have gone in and done the thing under kind of extraordinary circumstances and created income for themselves. They're a paid coach, and they're a well-paid coach. I have another client of mine who, and this is just such a beautiful story about timing, to where we connected and life was actually crazy, and it felt wrong for me to try and sell her into our program. It felt wrong. So I gave her a pretty big homework assignment to kind of like rearrange her life a little bit so that she had time to dedicate to coaching and then to come back to me when she was ready. And she did 3 or 4 months later. And we got on the call, and it was a totally different energy. She was like, "I'm ready now. Like I've done the work. I'm ready." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And she was the client I mentioned before that made one post just announcing to her community through Facebook what she was up to, and diligently offering everybody who interacted on that post a pro bono session with her. And she created $20,000 off that post. That we're still working with those. I'm still working with this client now, and she's still working with those original clients now. Like, it's just the post that kept on giving. And I remember her saying a lot, like, "Is this too easy? Is it too good to be true? Like, when does the other shoe drop?" And yeah, it does get to be super simple. I won't say that it's necessarily easy, but I will say that it does get to be super simple. I have another client of mine who has been on cash aid. She lost her job during the pandemic and has not been able to leave her home. and has been on cash aid and government assistance. And homegirl came ready to play because her future actually depended on it. I've never seen someone show up with so much just dedication to the process, and she was able to completely return her investment, her original investment with me, which was I think $5,000 at the time, in 6-7 weeks. I'm sure she'll correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but it was pretty quick. It was really, really quick that she was able to return her investment. And I knew her story before she got on the call. I knew that she was on cash aid. I knew all of those things, and I still offered her our program at full price because I knew that that level of commitment was going to elicit a crazy, crazy, crazy action. And it did. Yeah. So that's also a whole rabbit hole that we could go on pricing your coaching. But there are and this is just like a handful of people that we have worked with for a while now.
Yeah.
We have dozens of
I
similar stories.
I want to also offer an alternative ending that I think's really interesting, because we don't know when you start working with us what the end result's going to be. But I do know that you're going to learn incredible amounts of information about yourself, about what you're made of, and you're going to grow by working with me. So I have a client who worked in conventional medicine, very holistic minded, really, really desired to get out of that system. She was primary breadwinner, and she created a few clients here or there, but she worked full time. She had some life stuff come up over the year. She was frustrated. She was frustrated it wasn't happening fast enough. There was a lot of judgment of why it wasn't happening for her. And then right at the end of this year in 2021, she was offered a position with her chiropractor to run this coaching practice through her chiropractor and become an employee with super flexible hours, opportunity for her own practice to get referrals. It was like her dream job opened up and was delivered to her. And the cool part is all the work we had done that year prepared her to create that by the way of her state of being, by how she interacted with the chiropractor. And we coached her on how to show up and to create this position and to step into her own power and not ask and be direct. And it worked out. So she happily ended our coaching contract, not wanting to keep going yet because she's going to dive into this new role, which we have no clue what it's going to open up for her. But we do know that all the inner work that she did over the year prepared her for that interview and for nailing that interview and taking and creating a job that she wanted. So there also is other ways that nurse coaches make money that perhaps aren't as straightforward as one-on-one practice. And I'm sure over our podcast, we'll share some more of those alternative endings that are still awesome.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And my first business coach that I hired, she used to say all the time, I remember I worked with her for a year and then I thought that I wanted to get pregnant again. So I was like, I'll just like be chill this next year. And she was like, that's a bad idea. Never, never be chill. Little did I know that like I had an aneurysm brewing and my whole plan was about to be derailed. But what she said to me at the time was like, isn't it worth it to find out? Like, isn't it worth it to, like, if you are feeling called to continue working together, isn't it worth finding out where this road goes? And for the adventurous spirit that I am, that was absolutely enough for me to be like, hell yeah, let's see where it goes. But that is, I think, a really good point of if you're sitting on the fence now, do you still want to be sitting on the fence in 5 or 10 years about this? Yeah. Like it's worth the investment in yourself to find out where it goes. And also if it's not your typical one-on-one private practice or group coaching or whatever, it could open up who knows what for you. Like nurse coaching is becoming more trendy by the moment. More people know what it is. Like we don't know what the end of 2022 will hold for nurse coaches, like in the more traditional employee world.
Right. And that's really a good segue to another aspect, which might end up being its own podcast episode on its own because it's just so epic. But the mindset of the entrepreneur versus the mindset of the employee. So what I find is that if a nurse coach is ready to really change her identity, her or his identity into an entrepreneur, that things happen faster. If a nurse coach is still working full time, very much spending the bulk of their time as an employee, it can just be harder to change that mindset when you get and sit behind your own desk and start your own business, because the employee mindset and entrepreneur mindset are so vastly different. It's doable. There's just a lot of work that you have to do around it because no one's coming to pay us, like in this business, we create money out of thin air. We create clients out of thin air. We turn up the heat in our business to do more, to turn it down, to do less. There's no time clock. I'm working with my coach right now to develop PTO so that I actually have the feeling of paid time off as an entrepreneur. I'll talk to you about that, Shelby.
I like that idea. Send your coach my well wishes on that idea.
And so, the question, do nurse coaches make money? They absolutely do. And Shelby and I think it has to do with mindset. Mindset is the key to answering this question for you specifically. Anything else you want to add about this particular topic before we sign off?
Yeah, there is one more thing I want to say. And I just had like a random flashback of a Facebook encounter I had with someone who was thinking about becoming a nurse coach. I was tagged in this post and it was about this exact question. Like, who are the nurse coaches making money that are not coaching coaches? Who's actually out here doing this? And like, to me, it's so obvious because we have such a privileged front row seat to all of the nurse coaches who are out there doing it, right? Because of HIPAA and other things, I can't like name people exactly by name on who's doing what. But we have a really, really close pulse on what's going on within the world of private practice. And this, no matter, I was going back and forth with this person on Facebook, which is always a red flag. Never go back and forth with people on Facebook. But I got sucked in, and this nurse was just hell bent on it not working, like that people are not that I sounded like an MLM lady boss, which no shade to our MLM lady bosses. You do you, boo. But like, it's just different. Nurse coaching is different. And she kept dragging me farther and farther down this rabbit hole. And then I had a student of mine reach out, and she had seen the interaction on Facebook. And she was like, if that nurse would just go through a certification program and just take a chance on herself, she would feel so differently about it. She goes, I was that nurse before I did. Yeah. She went through the Nurse Coach Collective, and now I know that it's different. Like I can see all of the opportunity because other people are actually out there doing it. So if you by chance are listening to this podcast and you are on the fence, if you are looking over here at all these nurse coaches doing wonderful and amazing things and you wonder if it is too good to be true, just know that those are normal thoughts to have. But like, it's appealing over here. It's appealing over here for a reason, and you owe it to yourself to find out, to at least explore, at least get on a call with somebody or with a coach or whoever, a certification program, and find out if it's the right fit rather than just thinking up a bunch of things that may not be true.
Yeah, I think I wanted to round that out with coming back to the only nurse coaches that make money are the ones that believe that they can. And I think that through certification is the first moment that we have those seeds of belief in ourselves and what's possible. Just like the moment where the mundane parts a little bit and a little bit of what's possible starts to shine through. And once you've tasted that, then you start to realize that it really is possible. And it's possible in big, big ways if that's what your vision is. It doesn't have to be replacing your hospital income. It could be making your first 7 figures. It could be speaking on stage across the United States. It could be publishing a book. It could be running a huge group coaching program. It could be running retreats. It doesn't have to end. This is just Shelby and I hold the hands of people in their first stages of this, but it doesn't have to end.
I don't have anything to add because that was really excellent.
That got me excited for a second there.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that meme where you're like, oh, I just inspired my own self by the words that came out.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I think that also as our podcast goes on, we're going to have some of these people that we've been sneakily talking about. We're going to interview them here on the podcast for you. You're going to get to hear from new nurse coaches that are in their beginning stages of making money themselves. And hopefully that feels a little bit more real for all of you listening. Yeah. And I just, if you're listening to this and you feel butterflies in your stomach of like, I can create that too. I don't know what it is I'm meant to create, but I know that I can create something that is really fulfilling and authentic and in alignment with my higher purpose. There's your sign, babe. There's your sign.
Heck yeah. All right, everybody. We will see you in a week with our next episode, and we hope you guys have a fabulous, fabulous holiday because we're recording right before Christmas. All right, guys. See you later.